the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, Edin Shesheye Ede Aba, under the Educational Regulatory Bodies Law. And a woman say, I mean, the private universities are my Ghana mono. Doduanano must be able to fulfill the requirement Ebema Womunsa Aka Presidential Charter. Now there is a deadline to this. Deadline no the last day in the month of August for the year 2024, indicating failure to do that now just you cease to exist as a private university. Now enono ede how bebre na no ede beba. Already we know the issues are the consequences are the banking sector cleanup a buy free SHS a buy private universities are private senior high schools are involving more in the policy. The challenges are a buyer in the private sector. Now it is also coming back to the private universities. Now GTEC is bent on say one more edisa regulations embrano akani nyinano edibeye juma ama enforcement and so etimi aye juma. Quite a worrying situation. But mamene Razak Kojopoku anyway ho enkomo esan say watro articles bebre nano ewo ho. Kojo otimika good morning that is saying
good morning. Nyamiya do mo now so
Yadom menso me ho ye pa na anope ye da se yensa account enkomo we very well enkomo we enkomo a very important to me and to many other Ghanaians womo etie ya anope concerns are eba no. I mean first of all mami ma the opportunity na mintio the basis what they actually so many of articles about this initiative GTEC epese womo eteke
yo ohene me da se me chia what's here for you now? As you rightly stated, this is a very worrying trend that will be our concern Ghanaian and it should be very worried about because near now the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, or more enforce such a provisions in the Education Regulatory Bodies Act now. And let me give you the chronology of events. On the 1st of March 2024, GTEC x-ray all the private universities and colleges and other institutions in the country. They indicated to them that they are going to have a meeting with them on the 19th of March 2024. Our GTEC conference Secretariat more headquarters Accra. So the fees for that meeting to participate it was 1,500 cedis. I'm just giving you all these things for you to know how far I've keenly followed these events.
Okay.
And even on Monday, the Minister of Education, the sector minister, had a meeting with the founders of all the private universities in Ghana to discuss the decision now GTEC FSA or more ethic by August 2024. The universities, private universities and colleges and institutions are to and fulfill their requirement for the presidential charter in accordance with the Education Regulatory Bodies Act, 2020 at 1023. They will stand a risk of being closed down. Sebi, any again emphasis because offer presidential charter, it shouldn't be a basis or a requirement or a yardstick would not say me close down a private university college. All over the world, such policy an optional policy because and such and now Obinya presidential charter so the question is affect the quality of education, research or more or those schools so no matter. The big question is no. So are there have any material effect on the graduates? All these private universities have channeled to the country. The brain or more the manpower or the human resource of this country across all the various institutions, the brain or private university college. Maybe your first degree or master's degree or private university college. Some are working in government or the private sector or more contributing their quota to national development. At that time, umunya or more education and certifications, all the those private universities were not having presidential charter.
Exactly.
And no more have no more presidential charter. No, they did affect the quality of the products no more they are
David.
So why the rush? Yeshemra and Tracy Yashemra now you are enforcing the law. Emrana wa question no. So the Bible regulatory educational sector no. You have to ask yourself, say, the players in that particular industry, how are they prepared if we decide to say may implement the provisions in the act? You have to ask yourself that question. And as it stands now, no, there's a current arrangement. Almost all the private university colleges, our presidential charter, no, operate under the public university system.
Okay.
And they call it an affiliation system.
Yeah.
So, ABL called Kessben University College. All the teaching, the examination, the marking of script, the auditing of the script, and everything will be done by the public university at Kessben University College. The certificate will be awarded by the public university at Kessben University College. So Kessben University College, under the affiliation system, become the learning center. Today, we admit the students student you'll be an UCC or other public universities. For the time of convenience and resources, he preferred to go to the private university college. And let people not also assume, say, private university college, they don't have a good grade. That's why they opted for private university college. That is a fallacy argument. There are a lot of people with quality results, quality grades, but they decide to go to private university college, not to go to government university, because maybe program now you're interested to pursue, those private universities are the best place to go there. So the current affiliation system, it's helping the private university colleges to take their time to grow. And they call it a nurturing system. So they will nurture the private university college so that Obedrum Pempen so be or no, I have gotten enough lecturers with PhD holders. I've gotten enough lecturers with professorial rank. I've gotten a lot of MPhil lecturers. So I now have the capacity to award my own degrees. So that now the private university college, in collaboration with the affiliated public university, they will take the necessary steps to go through the process and the requirement, apply it to GTEC. Then GTEC will look through their documents, and if everything is in fulfillment with the law, then they will pass it on to the president, and the president will subsequently issue a charter to them. It shouldn't be a mandatory thing. I don't know why in our laws, is a mandatory. And I think Parliament have to have a look at it. It's not every law that you can make it mandatory, because we haven't gotten to the stage whereby as a country, you are making certain things mandatory. You cannot. So are they going to say that they are also going to enact a law? All the private hospitals and clinics and health centers, they must fulfill certain requirements and become like Kolebu or Konfanochi or Tamale Teaching Hospital. Can they do that to the health sector? If you can't do that to the health sector, why do you want to do that to the educational sector? And every country, there are three benchmarks or backbone of that country. The first one is education. If you are not educated, you can become a doctor, a lawyer, or a nurse, or whatever. Education is the primary backbone. Without it, all the other chains will become irrelevant. Before the health sector will come and agriculture will come.
Education comes first.
Yes. So private university colleges are also helping the government to see how best our educational industry can benefit the citizens. Oko Tech, Legon, UCC, University of Education, Winneba, and the government universities now. The question GTEC has to ask themselves, those existing public universities, do they have the needed infrastructure? has the government been able to build infrastructure that can accommodate 40,000, 50,000, 100,000 students at a go? It's no. So even the existing public universities, there's an infrastructure gap. There's even the lecturers, there are gaps. There are a lot of gaps that the public universities are facing. So the private investors decided to come into the educational space, see how they can invest in the educational space to augment the support, to augment what the public universities are offering. To show the investment, individual private people have invested. Go to Kessben University College. Look at the fantastic facility over there that a Ghanaian businessman has contributed to the educational sector. Our admitted students to make sure that the students will also become better people in society. And you are telling me that because of a presidential charter, you want to close down such a university? Then you are not being reasonable as a human being. You are not being rational as a human being.
Is this a strategy, a mere strategy to ensure, sir, you be collapse a lot of the private schools, sir? Because reasonably, just as you give the explanation, no, I don't see the reason here, you because private university be or na yen granting a presidential charter, Manemeye autonomous university. I mean, yen closing it down by 31st of August. 2024.
Even in a practical sense, Ghana as a country, they are autonomous as far as the management for our economy is concerned.
We can never be, and we are not.
Are we not begging IMF? So even as a sovereign country, you are not autonomous when it comes to economic or financial independence. You are still begging the IMF, the World Bank, and others for support. So use that model, use that framework, and understand that the private university college cannot also be forced to become an autonomous university overnight. It's a process. It has to take time. And even the existing public universities, when University of Ghana was set up as a university college of Gold Coast, how many years? And they take you a man and presidential charter. About 13 years. KNUST about 10 years. University of Education, Winneba, 12 years. Okay? If you take UDS, UDS set up a medical school. For almost 10, 12 years, their medical school was under KNUST. Does it compromise the quality of doctors that UDS produced within that time frame? University, Ghana Communication Technology University, it took them about 72 years before they reached becoming an autonomous university. So why the rush?
Interesting.
Why the rush?
Kojo ya kasa ya no Mako Act in him. Now let me just, for the purposes of education and information, for one more 8 years, under the Educational Institutions Regulatory Bodies Act. Now, this is what GTEC says. If you want to apply for a presidential charter, these are the requirements. 1, institution must have operated under a mentorship for not less than 10 years. And what it means is, as I said, we are affiliate institution to a public university for 10 years or more. Point 2, say the college or its parent institution must own the physical facilities. And you must have the physical infrastructure. I'll say at least 60% of each stratum in the pyramidal structure must conform to the GTEC norms for academic staff and faculty. Then you come again, or say at least 50% of the academic staff must have terminal degrees and qualifications.
And that terminal degree is a PhD.
It's a PhD, exactly. And 50% of lecturers are university nimuno as I saw PhD holders, and then you know the amount go into that. So we employ PhD holders as lecturers. Now you go again, or say all deans and or heads of department should be of at least the rank of senior lecturer.
Okay.
Then the next point, or say functional council or board and a functional organogram for the university structure. Now, you come again, also staff-student ratio should not exceed 60% beyond the GTEC norm. Student welfare, they must equally have a functional SRC body for the student to ensure their welfare. Now, there will be also financial stability of the university. The university must ensure say owosika or the no ankasa ne hobra. Then you come to quality assurance. And Sakra Nawaba, the research aspect of the institution, or say number of publications in the last 3 years, you must equally be able to, prove that. Now, funding budget for allocation in terms of research. Then you come to student performance range, student satisfaction, physical facilities for effective teaching and learning, information access resources. And you are talking about the library facility, the physical laboratories, and all of that. Dawson. Then you come to trends in institutional growth. And I don't get it. How do we fulfill all of this?
They have is two things. Either they amend this law or they throw it into the dustbin. You see, because even in practice, the public universities, if GTEC want to go strictly by the provisions in this act, then they have to go and revoke most of the public universities, their charter. They have to, because even the existing public universities, how many times have we heard the lecturers fighting for research allowance?
Exactly.
Has the government made any provision to the private university lecturers that they should benefit for research allowance?
No.
Okay. Have they also considered, if you go to the public universities, and it's very authoritatively that I'm saying, there are programs that the university, the public universities, doesn't even have a PhD holders teaching those courses. And they are there. Most of them are MPhil holders. Even in the public universities, there are programs that up to now, they don't have PhD holders teaching those programs. So why don't they go back and revoke the licenses of those public universities?
I see.
It took the University of Ghana several years, even before they decided to do PhD in anatomy and physiology. It's not an easy thing. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And even if you are producing PhD holders, have they asked themselves how many years it takes to become a PhD holder? It can take you 5, 6, 7 years. And even after getting the PhD, they were talking about becoming a senior lecturer. After getting a PhD, to become a senior lecturer, it can take you 5 to 10 years. So, you see, they need to be very serious. And you see, what makes them think that if you go to Oxford, for the purpose of education, you can go to Oxford website or Harvard website or Princeton website or Cambridge website. Go and check the profile of the lecturers that are teaching students over there. You don't necessarily have to have a PhD before you can lecture. If somebody has worked in the corporate world, let's say for instance, if somebody has worked in the banking sector for about 35 years,
exactly,
with colossal experience, if somebody has worked in the media space for more than 20 years, with huge experience, you want to tell me that such a media person cannot teach PR communication in the university because he doesn't have a PhD? Somebody with banking experience of 35 years, insurance experience of 30-something years, 20-something years, the person cannot teach in the business schools or faculty because the person doesn't have a PhD. Can a PhD holder fresh from school compare itself to somebody who has worked in the corporate environment for 20 to 30 years of experience? Can that person compare himself to that person?
Quite problematic.
So, you see, we need to be very serious. We don't have to produce graduates who are only theoretical mindset. We need to connect theory to practice. So if you go to Harvard, Princeton, Cambridge, Oxford, and the rest, there's a policy whereby they are able to connect the academic to the industry. When they say they should connect academic to the industry, what are they trying to say? It's whereby you have people in the industry with significant number of experience, allowing them to come and lecture the students. So in the educational curriculum, whilst they are doing their theory, there are also a practical element. And that practical element has to be done by people in the industry, on the field, with colossal experience in fact that students. So what makes them that even if Harvard or Oxford or Cambridge, people can lecture there without a PhD? What makes them GTEC tender? People cannot lecture in the business faculty and other courses without a PhD.
Very well. Now,
sometimes, from family me kasa and cheme. Sometimes yes, it's kwasi amra na beti treye. Kwasi amra uni waka de no ase homra ma tre brofu ne bubukum, and you cannot even enforce it, you cannot even implement it, because in practice and reality it's not practicable, it's not implementable. Just grammar.
Very well. Now, on the part of the private universities, what can they do to salvage the situation?
What now they need to do more advocacy, and they need to put their message across to government that listen, this is not doable. And all over the world, presidential charter is not mandatory, it's optional, because nipa cry it can take me 10 years to develop. It can take you 2 years. It can take somebody 20 years to reach that same stage. So you give an optional platform whereby people will take their time to build their individual competencies and reach that stage. You go Kumasi, Obiva flight at 35 minutes will do. The person has resources to use plane. Obisu needs Kabaka for VIP. It be taking 5 hours and then will do. Obisu be using a private car. He can use 3 hours and reach Kumasi. All of us don't have the same resources. So when you are doing certain things, you make it optional so that people can have the space to develop at their own pace. And that ben what say US, UK, Omokra Association, that ben what say Omo government say, why your private university, I want to presidential sector, but give you this deadline, I'll close you down. Does it even make sense?
Very well. Kojo, mama na wase.
That ben was arguing.
Interesting. But now was in that maybe any other side when you come up here. Why? I'm grateful. And to Razako Jopokuna, Menino Eddie and Komo. Now he's written a lot of articles now. And